Alright, well, it's engine building day. Got a nice quiet day to myself today. It's the best kind of day when you're working on an engine. So this AMC 304, well, it's more like a 325 now with the max bore. It already has 5/16 oil feeds through all of the mains from the galleys. This one oils your cam bearings first. And as I found out by drilling those with cam bearings in there, the cam bearing restricts the oil flow quite a bit. So I'm going to knock these cam bearings out for the center 3 and the back one because I screwed that one up too. But I'm going to knock those out, put a new set of cam bearings in it, and while I have the cam bearings out, I am going to make a little modification to the oil passage inside of the block for better oil flow to the mains and rods. So let me get these cam bearings out of here and we'll get that done. Missed it. So each cam bearing on an AMC is a different size. And you can see, oh, that one would have really been big. Because of me doing this, you can see how much of that oil galley is blocked by the cam bearing. So I want to open up the passage behind the cam bearings so that we don't have that. It was starting to cut in here, so it would have probably been quite a bit of a blockage on that hole. So we're going to make some modifications. Not entirely sure how I'm going to do that yet. It's probably just fine the way it is, but I have to poke at stuff, create problems for myself. Because that's what I do. I don't want to open the back of the cam bearing up because, one, those cam bearings are very hard to come by right now, and two, I want the load bearing part of the cam bearing to do its load bearing job. And I don't want to open the hole up anymore because then I lose more pressure and more volume through the cam bearing, which I don't want. Now my oil passages are all clear, 5/16 all the way down. I'm still going to open up the center 3 a little bit more, just give me more oil flow by my cam bearings. I don't know if it's necessary. I'm not even sure this is a good idea, but we're going to find out. Carnage in this cooling system. lot of mud in that. This engine block was hot tanked twice. Wow, that was a lot of mud. This thing would have overheated like mad. It's not as bad as the other side. That driver's side of the block was completely full of mud. And this thing was hot tanked twice. Like it was tanked here, and then Mike tanked it over to M&M as well. So it was glad I cleaned out the passengers. All right. Plumb the hose up in there so I can get the rest of that mud out of there. When I get cleaning. All right, I need to grab a couple different drill bits because I want to open up my center 3 mains a little bit for more flow. Off one more time. Let's go in just a hair more. Passage is not blocked. And then we do that 4 more times. Cam bearing installation isn't hard to do, but it is a critical part of the assembly process, and if you locate the oil delivery holes incorrectly, your engine fails. It's the little things. That's nice right out of the box. Oh boy. My luck is very unique. Boing. There we go. That's better. That's an upper or cap side. This is a block side because it's got a hole in it. That one doesn't have a tang on it. Weird. I sent a picture of that to Mike, and he's like, WTF, this engine hates both of us. That's pretty funny. Thrust bearings are the same. So, we'll stick this guy in the block. Number 3, CCD, D, don't know. Number 3, so yeah, center mass is our thrust. All right. Shiny. So we pulled the engine out of the 79 AMX that we picked up, I think, in Tennessee last summer. It's the automatic air-conditioned car. Ouch. And we got the engine out. I'm trying to get the camshaft out of this so I can make a sizer for my cam bearings, because my cam, when I put it into the engine with the new bearings, it's tight, so I need to modify the cam bearings a little bit. I'm trying to get the camshaft out of this engine, and I'm really glad I didn't waste any more time working on this engine, because every single lifter is dished. This engine, I will be surprised if there are any lobes left on this camshaft when I get it out. The lobes are looking a little bit worn. That one's barely a lobe at all. That one too. That's impressive. It's impressive that this car was running at all with lobes that far worn. That's awesome. I got our reconned rods with our 4-liter pistons, Hastings rings, Molly bearings, all sorts of good stuff going into this little guy. The rod caps only go on one way. If you put them on wrong, they will lock up the rod on the crank. They are machined in a specific way, and they have to be installed in said specific way, or bad things happen. We do have new ARP rod bolts installed in these rods. These rods from the factory are pretty strong for what they are. At least for what we're doing to it. It'll be just fine. So I like to torque my rod caps as I drop them into the engine, and then I roll the engine over to make sure I don't have any binding. I think rod cap bolts are like 35 foot-pounds. Check that real quick. With my handy dandy supercomputer, which is around here somewhere. Right where I left it. Oh, it's 25 to 30. That's easy enough.
Yeah, I saw that. That's real nice.
That lobe's non-existent, as is that one. Not much left of it.
That's wild.
All the lifters are super dished. Not much lift on that cam. Got all the noises for that set.
Yeah, right. Well, that's where we are, folks. Pistons and rods are in the holes. For future reference, ARP rod bolts are torqued to 40 foot-pounds, not the standard stuff. Timing set is on, as you can see. Camshaft is in. Time to put the rest of the timing cover and everything else on the front here. We have vapor honed the timing cover, so it's all nice and pretty again. And we need to rob and clean the oil pump, which sits right here as well. We may or may not have misplaced a couple of parts that originally came off of this motor. Unfortunately, it's been like a year or so since we tore this apart, and we've moved a bunch of stuff around, so we've lost a couple of our OEM bits. But fortunately, we have that junk motor that came out of the other car that we could steal pieces and parts off of. Now, this rotating assembly is all internally balanced. So our PRW flywheel is still neutrally balanced, no weights on it. And then the PRW balance that we're using has the ability to add weights to it, so that's already been done as well. So everything is beautifully balanced. What we're trying to do is we're trying to be as efficient with our rotating assembly as possible to be able to get as much power out of this thing as possible without being totally crazy. We haven't measured exactly where we're going to be compression-wise. We should be in the range of about 9.5 to 1, on a little less side of that, but should still be pretty good. We're not exactly completely flush with the top of the block, but we're pretty darn close. Head bolts we also stole off of the other motor because those disappeared. I was thinking maybe doing some ARPs, but I don't really need them. So those are in the shower getting cleaned up. I need to steal some dowels off the other motor as well, and then it's time to put the heads on. Front cover, oil sump, and all that fun stuff, and then oil pan, and then heads, intake, blah, blah, blah. Plan at the moment is going to be to steal my carb off of that motor that's already in the car now, and we're probably going to use that Holley Street Dominator intake manifold to be able to feed this thing air. It's a single plane divided plenum, and from what I've read, it's designed to be able to breathe up to about 5,500 RPMs on up to a 360 401 kind of thing. So it should be able to provide enough breath for this 325 to go to $6,000. At least that's the plan, hopefully. But fortunately, we happen to have some guys with some dyno access now. So what we could do is we can put this thing together with that intake manifold on it, and then we'll see whether or not it runs out of breath. If it runs out of breath at the higher RPMs, we'll switch to something like an air gap and see whether or not that works out for us. They have to pitch the hood a little bit to be able to clear the air cleaner on it, but you know, we can do that on the dyno. That's very, very within our range of capabilities. This is going to be an AMC 304 block with Jeep pistons in it, 0.125 over, and we are going to be running AMC 360 heads. Those guys are actually sitting right over here in the bags. These have screw-in studs in them. They have been reconditioned, so they are good, ready to rock and roll. They are pretty much stock, just cleaned up. The nice thing is with the 360 heads is it allows us better airflow than the 304s do, and more lift on the camshaft than the 304 does. So we should see a pretty decent increase as far as power and performance goes with that upgrade. And with the fact that we bored it out so far, we won't have an issue with valve shrouding. So that's where we are at the moment, guys. It's you know, 3 weeks until Power Tour, 2 weeks until I need to be at the Great AMC Day at Edgewater Motorsports Park on the 2nd of June. And in between now and then, I'm going to be on a 3-day vacation over Memorial Day weekend where I won't be able to get any work done. So, time is of the essence. We can definitely get this thing done in the time being, but we do need to hustle a little bit. Next, we also need to figure out the 5-speed swap, because I'm going to put a 5-speed in that thing. I have a T5 sitting around here somewhere, and we want to swap that 4-speed out for a 5-speed to be able to give me a better, you know, a highway gear for fuel economy, because this thing with the 60 over 304 got 1/2 per mile per gallon better than my 455 Pontiac Le Mans, which is not great. So an extra gear with an overdrive should be able to give us a little bit better fuel economy. And then obviously we're going to dial the whole combination in on the dyno at that point in time. But that's where we are at the moment. The next thing you probably see with the AMC project will be transmission swap, which could be tomorrow, depending on how busy we are in the shop. There's a bay right there that an AMC will fit in. So we'll get that transmission swap done, hopefully, and figure out drive shaft adjustment, because we're going to need to shorten my shaft by a couple of inches to be able to use that T5. So anyway, that's where we are. Thanks for being here, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. AMC goodness, here we go. And we've got a bunch of this coming. There's still another 304 build that's going to probably happen, and a 360 build that's definitely going to happen with some aluminum heads. Not at the moment, but it'll be in a little bit. And then Jeep, we have a 4-liter 4.2 hybrid build that's back there as well for Rich's Jeep that you guys have never seen. It's been sitting back there on an engine stand that we'll get to as well. So thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.